Good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you for being here. This is Preetha from LTLC. Let me give you a short introduction about LTLC. Let's Talk, Let's Connect is a platform to share and gain knowledge. If you would like to offer your knowledge about a topic, you can sign up with us and host a session that others will benefit from. If if you would like to learn about something in specific, also contact us and we will try to find someone to present about that topic that you are interested in. You may join our group where we will update about our daily sessions. I will provide that link in the chat box now. So all the links can be found in the chat window. We have covered 200 of hours sessions with 75 plus speakers and more than 2,500 participants benefited from it. We are too happy with that. So yeah, today's session is about food waste and food rescue. This topic connects to the major issue of world hunger and also gives a potential situation that will be long lasting. So today's presenter is Preetha Rajkumar, who is founding president of No Loss Food, a food rescue organization in Texas. Thank you, Preetha, for offering a session. We are glad to have you here. Participants, please do remain in mute to avoid interruptions. And the session is recording. If anyone having any issues, please let me know. You can post queries in chat section or else we will having question and answer section at the end. You can unmute at that time and ask. Now the session is up to you, Preetha. And now the session will be in English. So if anyone having issues in language, please let me know in the chat box. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. As I said, thank you also for Let's Talk, Let's Connect for giving me this platform to educate other people and give knowledge to you all about food waste and food rescue. So as she said, disclaimer, this presentation will be in English. It may become bilingual as needed. So I'm just going to change languages real quick right now. அனைவருக்கும் வணக்கம். உங்களுக்கு ஏதாவது கேள்விகள் இருந்துச்சு, நான் பேசுறது புரியல அப்படின்னா அந்த chat boxல தயவு செஞ்சு நீங்க டைப் பண்ணுங்க. சுபா வந்து அது என்கிட்ட சொல்லுவாங்க. அந்த நேரத்துல நான் உங்ககிட்ட தமிழ்ல அதை மொழிபெயர்த்து நான் சொல்லுவேன். ஸோ தயவு செஞ்சு கவலைப்படாதீங்க. உங்களுக்கு புரியல அப்படின்னா தாராளமா நீங்க வந்துட்டு இது தமிழ்ல சொல்லுங்க அப்படின்றதும் கேட்கலாம் என்கிட்ட. Okay, so now that that disclaimer has been placed, I think we could go ahead and get started with the presentation. So let me just go ahead and start the screen share. Okay. Okay. So let's see. So welcome everyone. Once again, I am Preetha Rajkumar. Just to preface my presentation today, it's going to be interactive. So there's going to be times where I'll be asking you questions and I'd want anyone in the audience, any other participants to go ahead and answer those questions. So please do raise your hand so we know who will be talking and unmute yourself when you're going to be answering those questions. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, I want to start with a short video. After that, we'll get into the main topic.
அன்மியூட்ல ரெட் கலர் வருது சார். ரெட் கலர் வரணுமா?
Video.
எழுதிக்கிட்டே பாருங்க.
Hello.
Okay, so as you guys have seen this short video, the images were graphic, so I'm going to say that to start off with. But a lot of people think this is just to, have a showstopper or to gain sympathy for these kinds of people, and this is like not happening. Commonly, this is just a rare instant. Those are the pictures that I've chosen. The fact is, this is the current face of hunger across this world. This is not just in one country or just a few countries that are underdeveloped. This is across the nation. You can see children and people like this suffering each and every day. This is reality that we are facing. World hunger is a huge issue. And one of the things we're talking about, food waste, ties in very closely with this. So let's go ahead and go into the main topic of today. If I can change my slide. Okay. So food waste and food rescue, that is the title of today's presentation, the topic of today's presentation. So let's just go over brief what you're going to learn and what you're going to hear about in this presentation today. Food waste, you're going to definitely find out what it is, some of the numbers behind it, and food rescue is a potential solution for the food waste that's happening, how you can do it at your home, help out organizations and the individual efforts you can take. Towards the end, I will be giving some tips and tricks to maintain a zero waste lifestyle. So we'll also get into that. One thing I do want to preface as well is food waste, even though it may be a very narrow issue that we're dealing with, it has more than just one environmental impact. That's saying it's world hunger and the climate crisis, pollution, all those things do play in. We are focusing more on the world hunger issue, that aspect of this, but keep in mind this issue needs to be solved for so many other global issues that we're facing today. So this one, as I said, it's going to be an interactive session. So there's going to be questions and answers. So I'll go ahead and give you guys some time to go ahead and come up with an answer. You can go ahead and unmute yourself and answer, or you can go ahead and type it in the chat box so we'll be able to see. And there's no right or wrong answer. Just go ahead and take your best guess. There's no judgment here. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, we need to look at numbers, because numbers really show the true reality of what we're dealing with, how important it is, the major effect all these issues have. So we're going to look into some stats about food waste and in general about some other things as well. So my first question that I would like to ask if anybody can answer is how many people are currently, an estimate, how many people are currently on this earth? Just an estimate. Can anybody answer? Please go ahead and unmute your mic and give your answer. Anyone? Can I get an answer?
$7 billion.
Yes, that is correct. It is more or less, it's a little over 7 billion. So whoever happens to say that answer, thank you so much. That is the right answer. So next one. So this slide's going to be a lot more answers, question and answer than the rest of the slides. How many people are currently starving? Just an estimate number, how many people are currently starving? Can anybody else answer this question for me?
I would say at least 10% of the overall population are in hunger.
10%? Okay. Anybody else have another guess?
Can I have a guess? Hello, am I audible?
Okay, I guess give you guys another couple
100
seconds.
million.
100 billion, okay.
100 million.
100 million, oh, I'm sorry. I'm seeing some chat boxes. Okay, I think, yeah. Repeat the question. Jaya, which question would you like for me to repeat? Jaya?
He asked for the first question, it seems.
Oh, okay. I think we're good on that one. So the values that you guys gave were great guesses, but let me go ahead and, it's almost 1 billion people are starving. Okay, it is a little less than 1 billion, but you can easily round it up to how close it is to 1 billion. So just looking at this number, we see 7, 1. How are we going to correlate this to get a simpler stat that people can understand, right? So 1 in every 7 people are going hungry each and every day. This number is startling, it is scary, and this has to reduce. There are some other stats that say it is 1 in 10, but we have to keep in mind those are undernourished or malnourished. We're not talking about the people fully starving. So, so there are other stats. If you go ahead and search this, you're going to find other stats as well, but we're looking at the people that are under this world hunger issue and that crisis. Okay, next question that we have is food waste. How much, the amount or a percentage, can be either, is how much of food is being wasted? Can anybody give me an answer for that?
Yeah, I guess 40% of fruits and vegetables and 30% of seafoods like prawns and fishes and 30% of cereals and 20% of meat and dairy products.
I believe I'm covering that in another slide. This was a different question, but thank you very much for your response. So I've already put the numbers up here. We waste over 1.3 billion tons, about 33% of the food that we grow and produce. So that is a very, very high number. And just to put in perspective, I'm seeing someone is sending a message in the chat. Okay. So this 1.3 billion tons can feed up to 3 billion. So only we're saying about 1 billion are starving. We still have the production capacity to feed 3 billion people just from what we're wasting. If we don't waste that, we can feed more than what are globally, the number of people that are globally here. Okay, so this is the stats. Okay, so moving on to the next slide. Okay. So food waste, as I said, also has other global effects, and one happens to be the environmental issue, the climate crisis, pollution, everything like that. Why I'm saying this, because the next thing we're going to talk about very briefly is the greenhouse gas and the emission of greenhouse gas. So we have 4.4 gigatons of greenhouse gas emission just from the food we waste. Later on, I'll go ahead and explain where this emission occurs, but this number is huge because let me go ahead and pull up a graph to go ahead and show you how big of a deal this happens to be. Right here, we can see different countries, China, US, India, and Russia. The one in the middle is not a country. That's the food waste that we are doing in our homes, in stores, in restaurants. 4.4 gigatons of greenhouse gas are being emitted. If this were a country, if food waste was a country, it would be the third largest greenhouse gas emitter. This is scary. We're all talking about, places are going into drought, the climate is changing, all sorts of things. Food waste, not even being a country, is in third place for greenhouse gas emissions. Okay. Okay, let's see here. Okay. So next, we have to look at two different numbers as to how much food, like the monetary value and the amount that we waste. In industrialized countries, $680 billion worth of food is being wasted, which equals to about 670 million tons of food, okay? Now, in developing countries, if that stat will pop up, $310 billion in developing countries being wasted equals about 630 million tons. First thing that pops out to me when I was looking at the stat was the wasting amount is about the same in industrialized or developing countries, but the monetary value is highly different. The reason being is the cost of living is different in developing and industrialized countries. We have to keep that in mind when we're looking at this. So the wastage amount, regardless of you being in a third world country, a first world country, second world, that doesn't matter. The fact is everybody's wasting food equally. And also, like a lot of people say that third world countries tend to have a lot more hunger rate. If we're wasting the equal amount of foods as an industrialized country, you can just kind of correlate right there where the issue is, okay? So next, you guys see 4 different images. You have your grains, fruits and vegetables, fish, you have meat and dairy products. So I believe someone actually answered this. They had a third eye and found out this was going to be in the presentation. So I think we'll just go ahead and skip this question and get straight to the numbers. So this is to just show you how much food is wasted in each of these categories. There is a much more detailed stat, which will talk about your root vegetables. It will go into more detail. This is just a generic, top, categories that I've chosen. So cereals being your rice, breads, wheats, and all those, you waste about more or less 30% of them. And this is not just the individual, this is from farm to home, from production all the way to our homes, okay? 30% is wasted. Fruits and vegetables happens to be the highest number because our kids don't like to eat fruits. They're always, vegetables, they're like, I don't want to get back to where we left off. Okay.
Yeah, okay, continue.
Sorry about that. Let's go ahead and start with where we left off. If I can, from current slide. Okay, so that's my bad. Where did you guys last hear from me so I can start from that point real quick? Subha?
You were telling about the wastage of the cereals. That's the last thing we hear.
Okay, so let's go ahead and start from there, okay? So we have, as said, about 30% of your rice, your wheats, and your grains. that we're wasting. So fruits and vegetables, as mentioned earlier, we waste about 50%, and this happens to be also from farm to home, as I was saying. This is where sometimes the farmers just forget to pick a crop, or say it's not sellable and they just throw it away. Or in our homes where we try to feed our kids vegetables and they're like, I don't want vegetables, it's gross, and they don't eat it. So instead of storing it or making them eat it, we'll just throw it away because we're like, we can't force them to eat it. So that's where our fruits and vegetables tends to go to waste a lot. You got fish, which is about 35% that's getting wasted. Your lowest amount is your dairy and meat products at 20%. So those are the numbers. Okay, are we good? Can we go on from that network issue? Shall I continue, or do we have any questions as of now?
I think good.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So next, as I was mentioning, what are the resources that this food waste takes up, and also the place where the greenhouse gas emission occurs. So that's what we're going to be discussing in this slide, right? So 21% of our fresh water content is taken up on the food that we grow, that is being thrown directly to the trash can, right? 21% of fresh water. Currently, the place where I am, we're in a drought, and all across in many locations in this nation, this world, there's drought situations, people don't have fresh water. This is a very common issue, but 21% of that fresh water is being used on the food that we just waste. 19% of fertilizers, this is both organic and inorganic fertilizers, are being used on the crops that we just tend to throw away because of some sort of defect, or we just haven't eaten it. 18% of crop lands are being used for the food that is wasted. This number is huge. Again, in the beginning, as I was mentioning, 1 billion people close to are starving, and we can feed about 3 billion people, right? This 18% of land that we're using right now to grow, this is the amount of area that takes to feed those more or less 3 billion people. Now, looking at the last point, the landfill volume, 21% of our landfill is taken up of food waste. This is where the greenhouse gas emission occurs. This is the huge environmental issue that I was talking to you about earlier that causes, your climate crisis and your pollution and everything like that. This 21% needs to go down, and there are ways that you as an individual can do it. So the next slide, before I go ahead and go into that, I just want to say a lot of people have this common question of, I am one person. If I throw away one apple today, how is that going to affect this crisis? How am I, by saving that one apple, how am I making a difference? So we're going to go ahead and explain that in the next slide. So who is wasting the most food? As you can see, the number one in blue is homes. It's individuals. It's you and me that are wasting the most food. Because we go to the stores, we're like, something's on sale. Let's say, your fruits are discounted. You're getting grapes for like a much cheaper price than you usually would. So you tend to go and buy a couple extra. The fact is, you are not going to be eating that extra that you buy. You're just buying it because it's on sale. You think it's, value for your money. Are you really going to be eating that? That's the question you have to ask yourself, and I have to ask myself when I go to the grocery store, when I'm buying my produce. I need to be like, am I going to eat this? Are someone in my household going to eat this? Because that's where most of the wastage happens. We go to the store, we buy things, and then we're like, oh, after some time, we're like, I don't like it. I don't want to eat it anymore. I'm tired of eating this. You just let it rot in the fridge or your pantry, and then it goes to waste. So An individual effort can definitely curb this issue of food waste immensely. I mean, there's literally no words to say. As you can see the numbers right here in front of you, $144 billion are spent on the food that we waste in our homes. So this is the individual effort that we need to be taking. And next we're looking at supermarkets. Supermarkets also, I blame both the individual buying and the supermarket themselves. Okay. First of all, why am I blaming the individual? This is, a corporate company. Why am I blaming the individual? Because these companies look at consumers and customer feedback. You don't have to write them, be like, oh, I like all your, that's not the feedback we're looking at. They are having employees and be like, you know what, somebody, they like buying these kind of oranges over, another type of oranges. So they're gonna try to order more of the oranges that you like. And then you're gonna be like, okay, so I bought more, but you're not gonna eat it. So that's the kind of feedback that supermarkets are looking at. What you buy, how much you buy, right? So the thing is that they're not going to buy the other produce that farmers are selling to them. And at a point, farmers are going to be like, you know what, nobody's going to buy it. I'm going to throw it. I'll go ahead and come to that point later. So as an individual at supermarkets, buy what you need. Don't go buy extra just because it's on sale or anything. Also, another huge issue is ugly produce. A lot of people think that something's wrong with a fruit or vegetable just because it does not meet ideal standards. Okay, so a chili that's starting to go red, just like in one of the edges or something, a lot of people won't buy because that's not the standard. They want their Anaheim peppers nice and dark green. They don't want it to start going red. If it starts going red, they think something's bad. The fact is it's not. It's changing colors, it's getting more ripe. So that's one thing. Another thing is sometimes you see different fruits and vegetables that have like an extra growth on the side. Like you've seen oranges that are like a little bit more bigger, or like there's like a tiny extra growth. Those are not your ideal. Like when you search orange on the internet, you're going to get an ideal image. That's what is imprinted in our minds. That's what we go look for at the stores. Now, a lot of people may be thinking, I don't do that. Why are you telling me this and all that stuff? You may not be doing that, but you may know a person who's doing this currently. And it is our job as an individual, it is our commitment to educate others about this issue. So that's why even though you may not be doing it, I'm not trying to guilt anyone. I'm just trying to point a message to people. Next, we have full service restaurants. So full service restaurants, again, blame goes to both the restaurant and the person. So the restaurant, obviously, they tend to cook more meals, and they were like, oh, we can't donate it because, the food might go bad within 2 seconds or something, right? They'll say all sorts of reasons. And I deal with this on a daily basis because I'm talking with these places to get donations. Later on, I'll explain why, as to why I'm having to deal with this. But restaurants have their certain protocol, as they call it, where food has to be cooked and served at a certain temperature. So rice, for example, they say have to be served at 120 degrees Fahrenheit. In reality, just think to yourself, is rice really being served in any of our restaurants that we've been to at 120 degrees Fahrenheit? Just think about this to yourself for a quick sec. Really, that's not the case. That's not happening. Sometimes we get rice that's cold. Sometimes we get rice that's lukewarm. So keeping that in mind, all their protocol is just to avoid an issue called liability. Okay. Now blame on the person that's going to the restaurant. As I mentioned for the supermarket, right? You go, you see a deal like, oh, there's a $20 deal and they give me 10 different items. It's a great deal. I'm not saying anything against that. But the thing is that, are you going to really eat all those 10 items that you buy for those $20, right? You have to think about that. Second thing is, okay, yeah, you really like the items, you want it. instead of wasting, instead of just being like, you know what, I'm full, I can't eat, pack the leftovers, take it home, eat it for dinner, eat it for a snack later, or give it to a homeless person on your way. There are many things you can do to reduce the amount of food waste that goes into, because once you have eaten off a plate and there's some left over, the restaurant isn't going to be able to serve that to anybody. They're going to dump it. That food just goes to waste. We can definitely reduce this as an individual. Farms. So this one ties into all three of the top categories that I was saying, because farmers, there are times where they just overlook and they forget to pick a crop. That happens. That's just regular human error. We can't do anything about that. But beyond that, they also look at what is sellable, what is marketable, what are supermarkets, what are the consumers looking for. So if they themselves say something that is considered ugly produce or something that a person won't buy for some reason, they won't give it to the supermarkets, they will toss it themselves. So that itself is going to go to waste. And this is what we need to reduce. So at the end of all of this, this comes down to the individual. We are the one who needs to make a change. The other four that are listed there, the institutional food services, limited food services, manufacturers, government, and other institutions, all follow in the same categories that I was explaining. So there's that information for you. So now I'm going to show you a quick video. This is relating to supermarkets and the amount that they waste. And once you see the video, you'll understand. So let's go ahead and play the video.
Going in. This is definitely not the most elegant place I've ever eaten. Oh my gosh, there's tons of food. And I'm not dining alone. So I brought along the experts. My dinner date is Rob Greenfield, a food waste expert. Delicious. Rob's idea of a great place to dine is this: a garbage dumpster outside a CVS store in Orlando. Fine dining, this is not. Forget it. But guess what? The food is not only tasty, it's perfectly fine to eat or to live. Why am I eating in all of these dumpsters? Candy from the dumpster. So let's prove a point. That perfectly edible food is getting waste. The truth is, check out all of this food we found thrown away before it's adjusted to sell-by date, including this baby formula, which is still good for another month, and this grape juice, still good for at least 2 months. I think it's outrageous, and I think it's appalling. And check this out. Oh, wow. At this CVS dumpster, we hit pay dirt. All of this food came out of one dumpster from one CVS. The manager wanted to know what we were up to. If you take a look over here, this is all of the food we got out of this one dumpster, and it was still before the sell-by date.
Yeah, anything in a month before, we trash it regardless.
We told him the food we had gathered would be donated to the needy, but he insisted it go right back into the dumpster. So you're not going to let us take this food?
Yeah, I'm not able to, I'm sorry.
You understand? No sense, right?
Exactly, I know, it doesn't make sense.
A good haul, loading all the perfectly good food we had collected from the other CVS stores into a minivan so Rob could donate it. So good.
Okay. Okay. So I was on mute. Okay. I'm off mute now? Okay, cool. So I don't know if you guys, because I heard that I'm seeing some comments that the volume was very low, but my volume is at 100 and I've maxed out everything, so I'm sorry about that. I don't know if it's some technical issues, so sorry for that. But you can find this video, which I'll go ahead and share a link of it towards the end of the presentation for you guys to go ahead and see this. It's on YouTube that you guys can take a look at this. So, okay, so you guys can hear it, cool. So the thing is, this obviously doesn't look appetizing, right? Because we're talking about eating from a trash can. This is not this is kind of what I'm saying, but what I'm not saying. We need to stop this food that is still good before it gets thrown in a trash can and give it to people to eat. We don't want to go dumpster diving to get that food, right? This is where the issue is. As you can see, this lady is definitely saying, the food is still good to eat. There's nothing wrong with it. It hasn't passed its sell by, best by, use by dates, which is another major issue that we're dealing with here in the States, and it's something new over in India that's being enforced in companies and manufacturers over there. So that is something that we're dealing with as well. And as you can see, the person from the company it's company procedure and the ability to question the corporate office, being like, why is this happening? They'll be like, do this. So these people, we can't blame the person who's throwing it away. This is a very much more corporate level issue that's having to be dealt with. But an individual can stop this. You buy the food and you can donate it. Like if you go to a store and if you have some extra cash, go look for the produce or products that are getting close to their best by, sell by, use by dates. Go ahead and buy it. Donate it to your local food bank or food rescue organization. And this issue can definitely be stopped. Also, if you join in this campaign of reducing food waste, definitely this can be heard. Our voice will be heard to corporate level. So please do join the campaign. There are so many places you can go and sign petitions, help us out to reduce food waste.
Going in.
Okay, this is. So next, what is food rescue? This is the second half of the presentation. So, the title itself is the question. Can anybody go and answer what is food rescue? Anybody have the answer to that question?
Anything that is being wasted, collect that and give it to the needy.
Perfect. That is the perfect answer I was looking for, very short and concise. So that is food rescue for you. Collecting edible food that would otherwise go to waste. Simple terms, that's all it is. So also known as gleaning. Some people go ahead and use that other term instead of collecting edible food. They say gleaning. It's a little bit more fancy, but it's the same thing, okay? So where can this food be collected from? Farm stores, restaurants, homes, and other establishments. These are your schools, colleges, any canteens, any place like that.
Hey Preetha, we can't hear you.
Preetha? I think again the same problem.
Yeah, it has freezed again.
Okay, guys. Sorry once again. I guess my internet wants to act up today. So let's go back to where we were. Where's the presentation? Okay, where is my presentation? Why can't I share it? Okay, there it is. Okay, sorry that you guys have to hear me singing. It's early in the morning over here. Okay, so we've answered that. Okay. So as we said, food can be rescued anywhere food is found and available. So this food that we collect, where does it go to? We're going to split this in 3 different categories, right? So cooked food usually is, you can pick it up immediately and donate it right away because it's still edible and you don't have to wait. That food will go to food insecure people. Those are the people that are in need of food, that don't have the luxury or the means to get the food that we have to give to them. So these are those homeless people, people in shelters. Those are the people that are first priority. The people that don't have any means to get a proper meal on a daily basis, that's the first priority. So if the food is still edible, whether it is cooked or raw, if it's still good, if it's still edible, there's no issues with it, meaning it's not starting to rot or anything, we will definitely feed the people that are in need of food, okay? Second, there are some times that, this can be in our homes, this can be in stores or restaurants, that there's some food that just starts to rot and you really can't, cut the end of it and use the rest of the tomato, or, do something like that, or just peel off the skin and you'll still be able to use what's inside. There's food that goes to that point, and it's just, common oversight that everybody does. Those will be given to animal feed, because animals, you can just go ahead and cut off and do certain things and be able to feed them in a manner that's good for them. That's still not, even though it's starting to rot, you'll still be able to feed animals. The last one that we're looking into is composting. So this is where it's complete oversight. We forgot about that one tomato that's in the back of our fridge. It's rotten. Instead of throwing it into the trash can, throw it into a compost bin, okay? So if you go search for compost bins, you get all these fancy like electrical ones or these $300 ones and those huge bins. You don't need all that. Go to your local hardware store, get a planter, and just throw in some soil in there, throw in your vegetables and fruits that are rotting, cover it up with some soil, let it sit there for a while, then you can use that as compost to grow your own fruits and vegetables, or for your, trees or plants or anything that you have in your backyard or inside your house, wherever you keep your tiny little garden. So for those who obviously are living in apartments or flats that don't have the ability to have like a backyard or have a garden, this is the best place to start a terrace gardening. There are many initiatives out there that are doing terrace gardening, and you can go ahead and start that initiative in your own apartment or do something like that. So compost is where, these are the 3 areas that we would like for the food to go. Definitely our first priority is people, second is animals, and third is compost. Last, just something that we cannot even compost, that's the food that we will have to throw into landfill, which we want to reduce as much as possible. So that 21%, if we feed it to people or animals or compost, that landfill volume will reduce. So this is in the hands of the individual. So next is, how can you help as an individual? So there's ways that I've talked about. So let's go ahead and just go brief overview of that. So first of all, you can donate. You can donate your surplus food from your pantry, parties, events, stores, restaurants. This is not just individual, I'm also including all those places as well. So donate your surplus food. Surplus food just means anything that is more than what you can eat. That doesn't mean go ahead and be like, oh, I took a bite of this piece, that's not what we mean. We mean untouched edible food. That's what we mean by surplus. Ugly produce. So stores, if you still are not convinced that that food is good, that ugly looking tomato is still good, you can go ahead and donate those to your local food bank or food rescue organization. And we will definitely be able to redistribute it to those in need, feed those who are going hungry each and every day. And then we have the issue of excess inventory or non-marketable items. Your ugly produce does come into non-marketable. The excess inventory is what the video was talking about, your best by, sell by, use by dates. This is a whole big issue on itself, because USDA and FDA here in the States do not mandate use by, best by, sell by dates. They do mandate for infant formula and meats, but for any other products that you guys see these kinds of dates, there is no mandate that the company has to put it. These companies, it's a marketing strategy. They're trying to get you to buy their products. And obviously, stores, restaurants, they're falling into the trap for this. And humans, we ourselves, individuals, are also falling in a trap, being like, if it says, oh, it needs to best buy, you're expecting the food to expire the next second that it passed the date. That's not true. Use your senses when you're looking at food. Sometimes, yes, food does go bad even before those dates, right? So use your senses. Look at it. If you've eaten enough food by your lifetime, right, in your lifetime, you know what good food smells like. So go ahead and smell it, take it out, look at it, take a bite into it. It's not going to harm you. Most likely the food's still good. So there's no need to worry about it. Next, if you don't have anything to donate, donate your time. Volunteer with your local food rescue organization or food bank, whichever one is in your locality. So do volunteer your time. You can be a person on field, actually picking up the donations and dropping it off. You can be a person who's just picking up phone calls for donations. There's tons of ways you can help out in your food rescue organization that's in your local area. So next, we're looking into the potential solution of this major issue of food waste. So redistribution of food wealth, as I was saying throughout this presentation, it's kind of like a Robin Hood concept. You're taking from the people who have too much and giving it to those who have none. That's kind of the concept of food rescue. You're taking the excess from someone or some place and giving it to those who don't have that are food insecure. Feeding those with insecurity, that was the next point that I just covered. People that go hungry, that are malnourished, anybody, all those people fall into this category. And reduction of the environmental effects of food waste. This is not directly dealing with food rescue. This is more of the climate crisis issue that I was touching up earlier. If you reduce food waste, it also reduces the environmental effects of the greenhouse gas emission and all that. Okay. So the individual efforts, this is to maintain or as much as possible to maintain a zero waste lifestyle. First of all, reusable products. This starts from
Preetha.
Okay. Okay, let's get back to where I was. Yes, thank you. My audio is muted because my internet connection was bad. I'm sorry that today is just not going as expected with my internet connection.
That's okay.
So what was the last point that you guys heard me at? Again, no answer? Okay, I'm getting a message, I guess. Okay, where did I stop Can anybody? I can start.
After the first point, you have to continue on that slide.
So, okay.
Individual efforts.
Okay, so we're talking after this?
On the second one, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, so again, don't be ashamed of using reusable products. Not only is it beneficial for the environment, it's also good for you. It makes you feel good. Be like, you know what, you're not leaving that big of a carbon print on this earth, right? So next, we're talking about mindful cooking and buying, right? So mindful cooking is cook what you're going to eat, or also buy, in case if you're going to restaurants, buy what you are going to eat, right? Don't be like, you know what, I'll eat this in the evening. I'll eat this tomorrow morning. Don't do that unless you actually are. Do not do that, because a lot of times that's the food that we're like, you know what, I don't want to cook in the evening. I'm going to cook it right now. And that's the food that we tend to throw out a lot of times because we just forget about it. We put it on the back burner and there it goes. We forget about it. Mindful buying, this goes for produce and anything in general, right? Not just food, but also clothes, any items you buy. Don't try to buy products that will last you for 1 year or like less because it's cheaper. Try to think of each item that you buy as a long-time investment, right? Try to use everything you buy to its maximum ability, you know, whether it be clothes or whether it be food or anything. Buy mindfully. Really think about, are you going to use this? Are you going to wear this, or whatever you're happening to buy, right? So those are other efforts that you can take. So buying products with less packaging. So this packaging, I'm talking about plastics, most of the time. Because at least paper and cardboard, you can recycle, you can reuse in other methods, but plastic, right? Your products that you buy, this can be produce, this can be other items, buy it with less packaging. When you're gonna go buy, let's say you're gonna buy soap, don't buy the plastic bottles, buy the, you know, the bar soaps that you get. They're still equally good. And for when you're talking about food, try to go more on the organic side, meaning the more fresh produce or more fresh, you know, your biscuits or your bread or anything. Don't try to buy the ones that are like packaged from companies. Because if you go to your supermarket, you'll have a section that's called bakery section, where they'll have your freshly baked, you know, cookies and your breads and things like that. Try to buy more of those than your prepackaged breads and biscuits and snacks and everything. So just try to buy with less packaging. And starting a compost for your you know, food waste and food scraps. This one, first of all, is part of like the Going Green movement, because once you start a little compost, you can go ahead and use that compost to plant your seeds, whatever you want to. You can plant you know, you can plant fruits, vegetables, flowering plants, even trees or something in your planter. And, you know, that's part of the Go Green movement that's going on. So go ahead and start a compost for all your food scraps, because when you cook, you're not going to use every bit of the fruit or vegetable that you're using. Instead of throwing it into your trash bin, which probably has like a plastic lining that's going to take forever to decompose, and the food is just going to be sitting in there for all that time, start a compost. So these are the efforts you can take as an individual to reduce food waste and also to live a zero waste lifestyle. So those are individual efforts. Next, current frontrunners. These are just going to be a few names. No Lost Food, definitely have to put that plug in there, because that's the organization that I started about 2 years ago. We are successfully operating in El Paso, Texas for 2 years, rescuing food. We rescued over 3,000 pounds of food. Probably more than that. This is what I'm remembering on top of my head. We just celebrated our 2-year anniversary a couple months ago. So excited. We're stepping into our 3rd year. So that is something that we're excited about. Also, Food Rescue US is a major, kind of like a corporate organization that is run across the nation. And so that's also here in the US. For those in India listening, We have No Food Waste that is operating in mainly Tamil Nadu, but also in other states as well. You have Food Bank Chennai. They do say it's a food bank, but they also do food rescue as well. You got Zomato partnering with Feeding India. This is mostly up north. This one is located in New Delhi. There are other ones. Another one is Food Bank of Chennai. It has a similar name to the one next to it, but they are two different organizations, and they're all doing food rescue. So go ahead and contact your local food rescue organization or food bank today to start volunteering or donating to them. So that's it for my little spiel. Thank you for listening and hopefully paying attention. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them at this moment.
Hi, I have a small question. So with the operations happening from Texas, how do you promote and reach out to people in identifying potential donors? That's one part of the question. And number two, what are the liabilities in donating or accepting food for the organization or any kind of food rescue mission in general?
So I'll go ahead and answer your question in a different way. I'll start with the second part and then go to the first part. So liability, I did touch a little, I touch base on this in the beginning of towards the beginning of the presentation. So here in the States, in the US, a act called the Bill Emerson Good Samaritan Food Donation Act has been put in place by President Bill Clinton in 1996. It was kind of a revolutionary act for a lot of food rescue and organization of food banks. So this act states, so this is mostly for people here in the States, is that there is no liability for the donor, and it can be an individual, it can be stores, it can be restaurants. There is no liability if all the food is given in good faith. That's what they say, good faith and no gross negligence, meaning that you're not intentionally giving, rotten food to anybody. That's the major thing. So if I'm like, okay, I'm going to donate, right? So if I'm like, oh, you know what? I just have a bunch of like apples and oranges that I'm not going to eat and I'm just going to give it away, but I know that half of them have gone bad. If I donate that to a food rescue organization, there's a liability issue on me because I knowingly gave rotten and bad food to people, knowing it's going to harm their health. Because I'm like, you know what? I don't care. They'll take care of it, right? If I give it in that kind of mentality. But if I'm very good, like if I go through my food and be like, you know what? There's nothing that's gone rotten, and I'm giving it in good faith. Like I want the people who eat this to be healthy. I don't want them to get sick. If I'm giving it in good faith, this act protects you from criminal and civil liabilities in case a person does get sick because of the food you donated. So that's the issue with liability. So there actually is no liability if given under good faith. And the first part of the question, how do we reach out to potential donors? So definitely the community support. So we tell all the people we know if they have any events, parties, anything like that, definitely give us a call because there's definitely gonna be food left over at the end of the event most of the times. So individuals. Second, we look into restaurants and supermarkets to give us, for supermarkets to give us their ugly produce, for restaurants to give the extra food that they cooked in assumption that they're going to be served that day. Because restaurants have like, you know what, it's a Friday evening, a lot of people are going to come eat pasta or something, and that day pasta does not go, they're going to have that leftover. So we're going to have to, contact them. So that's how we look for potential donors. So it is something that spreads by the word of mouth. So by telling people, telling your friends, because sometimes you never know, one of your friend might, know the manager of a restaurant or a supermarket or something. So you use those connections. That's how we try to reach out and get our donors. Does that answer your question?
Completely. Thank you. This is definitely impressive for the effort and the overarching goal of the talk. I had one more follow-up to that. Do you recommend tying up with event planners or hotels well in advance with their programming schedule or catering schedule, that you know you're going to be knowing the end product of all of these food distribution, because you know that's the potential personal waste that was the top grossing contribution to the world hunger and the food wastage, right?
Yes. You can, I wouldn't say tie up with them. I think that's not the proper term. I guess you can contact them and they might give you a list of maybe events that are happening. But in the end, so this is one of the examples that I had to deal with. Like, there was a caterer at an event that I went to, and I asked them if I could take the food that was left over. They were like, once it has been sold to a party, they no longer have control. So that's why I'm saying, when it comes to events and parties and places like that, to talk to the individual. Now, let's say if it's like Sodexo or something that's doing the catering, at that point, there are two different types of people in Sodexo that you meet. There's those being like, okay, you have to ask the corporate people, and then there's those people like the chefs that come and pick up the leftover food to throw it in the garbage. They'll be like, you know what, we'll just say everybody ate the food and they'll give it to you. Because that was an experience that I had with Sodexo, actually. So I wouldn't say tying up with them is a great idea, but you can definitely talk to them, see if they can give you like a list of events or people that might be interested in working with you.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Hey Preetha, Subha here. Thank you for offering a wonderful session. It was too informative, and I hope everyone will follow the zero food waste from now on.
Thank you. And once again, thank you, Let's Talk, Let's Connect, for this amazing platform that you guys have given me to share this knowledge, to educate people about the issue of food waste, food rescue, world hunger. So once again, thank you guys so much. Again, yes, if you have any questions, please go ahead and let me know. I'm more than happy to answer them for you guys.
And யாருக்காச்சும் தமிழ்ல எதையாச்சும் explain பண்ணணும்னு எதிர்பார்க்கறீங்கன்னா, you can ask now, so she will explain now.
தைரியமா கேட்கலாம், தமிழையும் நல்லா தான் எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணுவேன்.
Preetha, you have a question in chat box actually. Does no lost food collect both perishable, non-perishable?
Yes, yes we do. And oh, Ms. Bain, thank you very much for the question. Yes, we do collect perishable and non-perishable items. One thing that I should say is, at No Lost Food, what we do a quality control check before we donate the food. So regardless of how the person donates it, whether it's in good faith or not, we always give it in good faith. We always make sure the food that we give is of good quality. If something's going rotten, we have our own compost bin in one of our locations, so we'll go ahead and compost it. So that is something that we do. So we do collect both perishable and non-perishable items. Hopefully that answers your question, Ms. Bain.
What made you to come up with this point actually? உங்களுக்கு எது வந்து இன்ஸ்பயர் ஆச்சு, இது வந்து நீங்க வந்து ஃபுட் ரெஸ்கியூ அந்த கான்செப்ட் எடுக்கணும்னு நினைச்சீங்க?
கொஞ்சம் சத்தமா பேசுறீங்களா? எனக்கு கேட்கல.
உங்களுக்கு எது வந்து இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு ஃபுட் வேஸ்ட்ன்றத வந்து அந்த ரெஸ்கியூ அந்த கான்செப்ட் வந்து ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணணும்னு ஒரு இன்டென்ஷனை கொடுத்தது? எப்படி எதனால அந்த மாதிரி ஸ்டார்ட் ஆச்சு?
நீங்க ஃபர்ஸ்ட் பார்த்த அந்த வீடியோ, நான் தமிழ்ல சொல்லணுமா இல்ல இங்கிலீஷ்ல சொல்லணுமா? அது நீங்க சொல்லிட்டீங்கன்னா.
ரெண்டுமே சொல்லலாம், as you wish.
Okay. So his question was, why did I get the idea? Why did I want to start this kind of an organization and do food rescue? The video that you guys saw in the beginning, Feed Me, was actually a PSA project that I did in 8th grade. because I was interested in doing some sort of like film, kind of project. So I did that in 8th grade. It was me and a couple other friends. We did it together to enter a competition actually. And from a very young age, I've always been into social issues, social activism, trying to change things. I'm a very like hot-blooded, just I need to get things done. There needs to be change. Things need to happen. So world hunger was something that really, just spoke to me. And when I was looking into things, people are like, we have food banks, we're distributing food. But I was looking at another issue, another cause, because that can't be the only thing. Like, they're saying the production capacity is enough. Like, we can feed more people than those that are going hungry. So where is the issue? What is happening? Why are we not able to get the food to them, right? That really triggered a lot of research. And when I was looking into it, then I saw the numbers of food waste, and it all started to make sense. So I'll be like, okay, what do we do about food waste? Are we going to go through trash cans and try to get it out? Like, what do we do? That's when I learned about food rescue through other organizations. City Harvest up in New York is a major one. Boulder Food Rescue. These guys have been running for years doing this. So they were my inspiration. So I started looking up on their websites. I found out what it is. And I'd be like, you know what? This is a very long-lasting potential solution that we're looking at when it comes to, reducing the food waste and curbing world hunger. So that's the reason why, I kind of got this idea. It actually stemmed from an 8th grade project. And ever since then, I was literally waiting till I can start paperwork. So just waiting till I was able to get into college to get this thing started, actually. So I hope that answers your question, sir. Any further questions, or do I need to say this in another language? Anything? Okay.
Preetha, I want to ask you 2 questions. Shall I?
Yeah, by all means, go for it.
Yes, it is the first session for you in LTLZ. How are you feeling now after this session?
It's an amazing platform. Once again, I'm thankful. It is a great initiative by amazing human being for people to enrich others with the knowledge that they have. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, just with my network issues, but other than that, it was a very enjoyable experience. Also getting back to my talking skills with all this COVID and quarantine and everything. So it's a great platform. It's an amazing initiative by you guys.
And your idea about LTLZ, the Let's Talk, Let's Connect platform.
Could you rephrase the question? I'm sorry, I don't understand you completely.
What is your idea and opinion about Let's Talk, Let's Connect?
So as I said, this is a great initiative. It gets a lot of people, not just youngsters, but anybody who's interested in topics to, learn more about it or go ahead and share their knowledge to others. And I think this is a great idea that should continue even past this, quarantine COVID issue, because this really is what pushes people to learn more information, to gain more knowledge, and just to get a better understanding of the current issues or other topics. So that's what I think. It's a great initiative once again. So keep up the good work. That's all I can say.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Preetha. And yeah, tomorrow session is about perception is all about life. So this session is going to be held on 10 to 11:30 a.m. So if you are interested in this, do join in this. And if you want the link, do join in the group, and so you can get the updates of the daily sessions that I posted in the chat window. And if you are interested to host a session, you can also reach us by clicking the link, and you can also view our previous links by clicking on this link. So யாருக்காச்சும் நீங்களும் இதே மாதிரி செஷன் எடுக்கணும்னு நினைக்கிறீங்க அப்படின்னா நான் chat windowல லிங்க் கொடுத்திருக்கேன். அந்த லிங்கை கிளிக் பண்ணி நீங்களும் செஷன் எடுக்கலாம். இல்ல நாங்க ஒரு செஷன் எடுக்கணும் அப்படின்னு நினைக்கிறீங்கன்னா எந்த டாபிக்ல எடுக்கணுங்கிற இதை போட்டீங்கன்னா we will try to arrange a facilitator. And so நாளைக்கு என்ன செஷன்னா perception is all about life. இது வந்து மார்னிங் 10 to 11:30 நடக்க போகுது. இதுக்கான லிங்க் இதுலயே இருக்கு, பட் பிக்சரா இருக்கிறதுனால உங்களுக்கு லிங்க் வேணும்னா அந்த குரூப் லிங்க் வந்து நான் chat விண்டோல போட்டிருக்கேன். அதுல வந்துட்டு நீங்க இது பண்ணிக்கலாம். குரூப்ல சேர்ந்தீங்கன்னா யூ வில் கெட் த அப்டேட்ஸ் டெய்லி. அண்ட் யார் யாருக்கு கொஸ்டின் இருக்கோ யூ கேன் கண்டினியூ. சாரி ஃபார் இன்டரப்டிங் இன் த மிடில்.
Okay. So any further questions from anyone?
Hey Preetha, thank you so much for the informative session. It was very nice. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that feedback. Okay.
And yes, Preetha, your session is so good, and it was so informative and also inspiring to the youngsters. So
Thank you very much.
I think others doesn't have any doubts. யாருக்காச்சும் ஏதாச்சும் டவுட் இருக்குன்னா கேட்கலாம், or else we will wrap up the session. Future to be successful. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for being here and attending the session. Thanks a lot. Tata all.